Hey everyone, this is George Soto and you're watching Startups Unedited.
Hey everyone, this is George Soto and you're watching Startups Unedited. Hope all is well. Today I'm with Jason Saltzman, who's the CEO and co-founder of The Alley. Jason, you've done just a ton of great stuff. You're also a mentor at Techstars. You worked with entrepreneurship.com, which is Entrepreneurship Magazine. Good morning. How are you doing? How's New York?
Good, man. New York it's actually beautiful out, thank goodness. And thanks for having me, man. Good morning.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thanks for making it. Why don't you take a second to just provide the audience a little bit more about your background and what you're doing now with the Alley and what the inspiration was.
Sure. So I've been self-employed since I was 17 years old. I had a ton of businesses. Most of them have failed, fortunately and unfortunately. And the Alley basically came to me because I was searching for something that I could be really passionate about in my life, something that I really wanted to do, something that motivated me. And I did throughout my career make some money, but I was missing that element in my life. So when Alley presented itself to me, and we went after it, it really kind of took over my soul, and I found a lot of passion in helping people and getting people together to collaborate, and just helping people through problems, associated with growing a business. So that's pretty much the short version of how we started. For the longer version, I'm gonna have to take your audience and you out for a beer, and it can't be this early.
Fair enough, because I won't show up apparently. Well,
All good.
I was really touched by your article on anxiety in Entrepreneurship Magazine or on the site. And first of all, I have an intimate experience because I deal with it as well, right? I think that what's so interesting about anxiety and in entrepreneurship is like you, I'm pretty much unemployable.
Yeah.
In that, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a hustler. I've been, building businesses since I was a kid. My mom just actually wrote me, was like, "Do you remember you were selling crepes at 7?" I was like, "No, I didn't even know I could cook." In any case, it's a high stress environment, and for folks who have maybe a predisposition or a little anxiety that sort of that they feel a little more than others. Now, I think it's also important to understand that anxiety is something that's naturally occurring in nature, and that everyone has, right? And it could be actually a good forcing function for us who are out there, entrepreneurs who find ourselves with that extra pressure inside and anxiety. That how do you identify that you have it, right, and be able to say, hey, this is what I'm dealing with now, and what are some of the steps that I can take to really own it and not make it a negative, but actually use it as a strength.
Yeah. So, well, thank you. And I think that the article that I wrote for Entrepreneur was, as I stated in the article, it took me a long time to write, but it didn't take me a long time to write because it took me a long time to choose my words or the editing process. It took me a long time to write because it was such a personal subject to me. Frankly speaking, I didn't know how people would be receptive towards it. I don't know. There's still so much stigma, around anxiety. I mean, I was thinking about the other day, if you have a conversation with somebody and you're experiencing anxiety, how weird would it be to just stop the conversation and be like, hold on, dude, I'm having anxiety right now. It just really, it's not in our culture yet, in our nature, to really share those thoughts with people, and I think that because of that, not everybody knows how common these elements are. So after writing that article, one thing that fascinated me about it was how many people were receptive towards it. I mean, it went viral. Entrepreneur called me and was like, dude, you almost broke our site. Like, it was like the most popular article we've had in years, on the site. and the emails started to come in. Thank you so much. I'm feeling this way. This helped me out. Or, Jason, you're so brave to share this. Me, like, exposing my thoughts. And, it really, it really opened up my eyes to how relevant the subject matter is. By the way, did I lose you? Hold on a second.
No, I'm here.
Am I still there?
You're.
Oh, okay. Popped up. So it's my anxiety. No. So I think that
my anxiety was triggered when I woke up late and was going, holy.
Yeah. All good. But I think that the point for me, and a big lesson I learned out of writing that article, is actually how many people are going through very similar things. And as the story got retweeted and as the emails started to pour in, an overwhelming thought came over me that a lot of us really are going through the same things. And I think that, I know I wrote a lot of tips, and one of them is to like talk about it. But what that article did for me is I get anxiety because it happens, naturally throughout the day. And I'll go into that in a minute, kind of tying it into entrepreneurship and how stressful it could be. But writing that article alone gave me a foundation of calmness. It was very therapeutic for me to not only write, but to receive all the messages. And now, even as I talk to you, I think about that article, and it gives me some like zen in my heart that so many people are going through the same things. And it's totally normal, because I think the worst thing in the world is that you feel like, you're the only one, or you're alone, or this is going to like kill you, and meanwhile it's not. And it's human nature, and we're thoughtful creatures, almost to a fault. And I think the more smarter you become and the more intellectual you become, that has a direct tie-in to anxiety, because you have the capacity to overthink things to get things done, which is a strength. But on the other side of things, you have the overcapacity to think things, be over analytical and start thinking things through ad nauseum, to where it goes down a more negative pattern,
Well, my father is a psychologist, and he's been dealing with anxiety and other topics within the workplace. So he runs a company that provides counseling services to employees of companies, and then he's been doing private practice for a long time.
That's cool.
And what he's told me is that anxiety and depression and other mood disorders, which I think is kind of silly to say disorder, but as the psychologists have to diagnose certain things, I think it becomes a disorder when you just can't show up to work anymore, or you're not showing up to things because the anxiety is too tough. I think that's when it becomes a disorder. But it's actually correlated to highly intelligent people. And this is actually, I don't have the actual reference point there to the article or to the data, but this is what I've heard multiple times, and I just wanted to point that out because of what you said. The more intellectual you get, the more thoughtful you are. There is that anxiety now that can be generated and absolutely tied. What are some of the things that I can do as an entrepreneur, as a founder, to really be able to mitigate or decrease? I know we have about a couple more minutes, and I really appreciate your time, that we can do to identify, this is anxiety. What does it look like? And then B, start to take some steps to relax and to just kind of own it and have control over it as opposed to it having control over you. And I think that's a very, very strong distinction. One of the things I do is yoga, by the way. So how do you identify it? First of all, how do you identify it?
Well, first of all, I think that it's important to say that it's very subjective, right? So it's definitely depends on the person and what they're going through. Like, I don't want to say like I have the silver bullet that's going to answer everybody's, questions, especially in this type of subject matter, because it's so personal and everybody kind of suffers from a different level of it, For me personally, I think it gets identified. There's a few identifiers. I think a catalyst, talking about the catalyst to the identifier, it is also a good way into identifying it. Like, for instance, my whole day, I'm thinking things through. I'm coming up with solutions to issues, I get an email, fire starts, I have to put it out. I'm thinking about all different variations of how to do the next deal. So my brain is constantly going. And my anxiety usually happens when I'm out of that element, when I'm home, or I'm in a situation where I'm trying to turn my brain off, and because I'm so used to thinking, I have to that energy is still inside me. And then sometimes if I hone in on it enough and I go down that channel of like thinking things through and continuously letting my mind get the best of me, it can go on for the next couple of days where it actually affects me, in meetings, with people in front of me, listening to them and thinking thoughts. I think that it manifests itself in me specifically, when I can't shut my mind off, and I'm thinking all different types of things. It's like a broken mechanism, it feels like data overload, like bells going off. And I think, and the way I personally try to deal with it is to get really involved with what's going on around me in that moment. I try to, and I call it in my article like love, but it's true. Like I feel like when the Beatles, John Lennon, everybody wrote All You Need Is Love. It's kind of like that. Really, I mean, as crazy as that sounds, that really reflects in this moment inside myself, where when I start to love the things that I'm doing and the conversation that I'm having, the noise dissipates and everything around gets like cloudy, and I can be able to focus in on what's happening right then and there. It's kind of like Kevin Costner in that movie where he was a pitcher, The Perfect Game, and he was all screwed up by the crowd, and he was able to he's called it turn off the mechanism or whatever and blur out the crowd and really focus on pitching. And he had a perfect game because of it. I think that is like the equivalent of what I try to do in my life, when these things start to happen. Doesn't always work, but at the end of the day, we always wake up and it's a different day. And, there's another shot at doing what you're doing, and you get a chance to focus again on something else. But for the most part, that seems to really work well with me.
Well, thank you so much, Jason. I know you got to run. Really appreciate you joining. What I think that when I hear you say these things, I think about being in the moment, being present, and that's so difficult, especially these days with all the technologies and all the distractions, and especially if you're a CEO of a company, it becomes hard to be in the moment and be able to be present. And in the conversation or the task. So, thank you so much for mentioning that. If I want to actually follow you on social media, what's your Twitter handle? And if I want to learn more about the Alley and potentially being a customer or joining the community, where should I go to find out more information?
Yeah, cool. Thank you. So you can follow me at Saltzman Jason. Is my Twitter handle, and I'm on Snapchat as well, and Instagram, and you can go to www.youralley.com. We just changed it, so I'm thinking that wasn't anxiety, that was me just thinking about youralley.com, and you can check out our events and join our newsletter. We have some really great stuff coming up, so we'd love to have you part of the community for sure. For you, for picking up on the article and for reaching out to me, it's all part of how I know that you hit a nerve, and that this is a really good subject matter to talk about, is people like you that have these communities and this outreach to kind of explore these things and talk about them. So I'm happy to do it. And thank you for even contacting me.
Yeah, well, thank you. But, I just want to say that I think you're the hero here. And, these topics are not easy to talk about. These are the things that people don't want to face, but they're absolutely part of reality. We're not machines. And I think that's one of the issues with business that, makes me sad at times, is that we forget that we're humans. and we're not machine. We're not business machines, right? We're not IBM.
Not yet. Not yet.
Not yet. We're about, I think, 20 years away from that. I mean, I guess I'm a machine. I'm a half Android here, right?
There you go. There you go.
Anyways, I know you got a meeting. Thank you so much, and have a great day. Well, I hope to meet you in person soon.
Yeah, for sure. Have a great day. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Okay, take care.
See you.